This is Cox San Diego Connection. Welcome. Today we'll be talking about public safety. You're probably thinking police, crime, and jails, but public safety is also about prevention, protection, security, and education. It's part of our quality of life. We're going to start with protection. Our first guest is someone who has dedicated his life to protecting all of us from his day in the Marine Corps through his career in law enforcement. He is now the Chief of Police for the City of Chula Vista and someone I'm proud to call a friend, David Bejarano. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, you got it. Now, you're president of the San Diego County Police Chiefs Association.
That's correct. I've been in this current position serving as president of the San Diego County Chiefs and Sheriffs Association since about 2011, so a role that I love. And here in San Diego, we're very fortunate for the entire county. We have a great working relationship at every level with local law enforcement, state and federal, and I believe that's been part of our success in keeping the county safe.
Now, your department is doing a lot of innovative things. One of them is the automated vehicle dispatch system. Tell us all about it.
Correct, and this technology is actually old technology for fire departments. I believe will be the first one or one of the few where we are using the automated vehicle locator. And this means that our dispatchers, our supervisors at any time can pull up on their screen. They'll be able to see a map of the city of Chula Vista and actually see every single patrol car that is in service, their location. This helps with officer safety and also allows for a quicker response knowing where each officer vehicle is located in the city. So this is huge for our city and our department.
I know you're also big on community service officers. It's something that some departments do already. Tell us how that helps you and the officers also to protect all of us in a better form.
Well, again, we've all gone through the biggest recession in our lifetime. Every department lost officers, budget reductions. And one of the first cuts many years ago, probably in 2008, was the elimination of community service officers. These are civilian personnel that are actually conducting a lot of reports, doing a lot of reports that officers necessarily don't have to be involved in. We were one of the first ones, and we actually have 3 full-time community service officers. We're adding 2 more this month. They're handling about 200 to 300 reports every month, quality investigations. That frees up our officers, and again, we're all understaffed, to make sure that they're ready to respond to life-threatening calls, and they're doing what we call proactive work. They're out there making traffic stops, contacting suspicious persons, so that frees up our officers to do more proactive work, also focus on crime prevention, and again, not handling calls where they're going to be out of service for 1 or 2 hours.
When you say crime prevention, what does that term mean to you? And is this something as citizens that we can do to also protect ourselves?
Well, again, the reason we're one of the safest cities and we're recently identified as the 10th safest city, large city, 200,000 population and above in the nation, it requires a partnership. That means that we have to work closely with our community, and that means the neighborhood watch programs, educating our community. We do community forums on a regular basis and trying to inform our community, keeping their doors locked up, alarms, being on the lookout for suspicious activity, calling in when they see suspicious activity. We can't do it alone as far as law enforcement. It truly requires that partnership, working hand in hand with the community and the business community, other city departments to keep a city safe.
You mentioned the lean years. You're starting to recruit as well as other departments. What do you look for in a recruit, someone who is going to be in law enforcement?
Well, again, that's one of our biggest challenges and also an exciting time for us as we're starting to add more officers to our department. And we're looking for individuals, obviously, the self-discipline, maturity, some life experience, and most important, that integrity as far as and that passion to serve our community. We're trying to hire what we call lateral officers. These are officers with some experience, which means that we can actually put them in the field a lot quicker as opposed to going through the recruit academy, which is 6 months and 4 months of training. But we're also focusing a lot on recruits. So. And we're also fortunate that we're one of the highest paid, some excellent salaries and benefits for those who might be interested. Hopefully they can take a look at our website, but we are trying to hire as quickly as we can to, again, provide a higher level of service for our community.
Now, you grew up in El Paso and you're bilingual, bicultural, you know the border very well. How has that helped you work with your counterparts south of the border to help make San Diego a better place to live?
Well, again, yes, I'm very fortunate as far as the bicultural, the bilingual, and then especially, I believe, an important asset when you're working along the southwest border. We're 7 miles north of the border, And I talked earlier about the county relationship and keeping a county safe. For probably 15, 20 years now, I've been working closely with our counterparts in the Tijuana area, local, state, and federal, sharing information, coordination of intelligence and criminal investigations. Criminals don't recognize the border. They go north and south freely. So it's important to be able to communicate with our counterparts south of the border, ensuring that our border community is safe.
As we're running out of town, unfortunately, but I know you, and you do a lot for our community, for kids, kids who don't have enough. But I know you're big also with the Chula Vista Police Foundation. Your colleagues with Chula Vista do a lot. Tell us about that quickly, if you don't mind.
Well, again, the Chula Vista Police Foundation was founded in 2009 when I was appointed. And again, as part of that partnership, we have some high-profile business professionals, former city managers, former mayors in Chula Vista, and they help us fundraise. We're fundraising about $100,000 a year, and that allows us to buy additional equipment for our officers, additional canine, and also to give back to the community. They sponsor an event every year, Shoes and Socks event. Over the last couple of years, we've fitted over 2,000 underprivileged children in our community with new shoes and socks. That builds their self-esteem, and obviously also encourage them to stay in school and work hard. So a lot of great work being done by the foundation, supporting police department and also giving back to the community.
Okay, good deal. Thanks for being with us. I wish we had a little more time to talk.
My pleasure, thank you.
All right, so after a short break, we'll switch gears a bit and talk about fire protection and how we can all help one another. Please stay with us.
This is my Contour, and it reshapes TV completely around me.
It knows everything I like and recommends new things.
Que me encantan.
And I can watch whenever,
However I want. Contour puts my personal favorites front and center, so I can search less.
and discover more.
So my perfect show is always just a swipe away.
This isn't TV for everyone.
Contour is TV just for me.
Introducing Contour, only from Cox.
I can't wait to make new friends, to go on an adventure, to explore new worlds, to have fun. I can't wait to be a Girl Scout. Start the fun now. Join Girl Scouts today at joingirlscouts.com.
The New Children's Museum brings children the joys of discovery, creativity, and play. Feast, the art of playing with your food, is a new exhibition that focuses on the role of food in our lives and in our health. Exhibits like Feast and the unique arts-based programming at the museum would not be possible without the generous support of corporations and individuals. Learn more today at thinkplaycreate.org and experience Feast, the art of playing with your food. Brought to you by Cox Communications and the New Children's Museum.
We're discussing public safety. We've talked about police protection. Now we're going to learn about how firefighters keep us safe even when there are no fires to be fought. With us now is Chief Dave Henneman with the Chula Vista Fire Department. Sir, welcome to our show. Thank you for being with us. Let's talk about what's going on in Chula Vista first and foremost. They're building homes again out east. The Chula Vista Bayfront is now being developed. How are you going to protect these new homes and businesses? What's the strategy to keep these people safe?
Well, we have a fire facility master plan that we've been working on for the last 2 or 3 years, and that's going to our council here at the end of the month. And in that, we have developed 3 new fire stations in our growth areas. One for the Bayfront Station, one for the Millennia development in the east, and then one for Village 8 as well. So we've already purchased the property for our Bayfront Station, for example, and we're looking at building the station there. We need to be able to protect the development at the first stages of development prior to when the citizens move into that area. So we have to kind of be ahead of that development and be prepared. We already have agreements in the Millennium project as well, so we will have a station there with the development in the next few years.
Paramedics, we sort of take them for granted. You're incorporating them into your department now. Tell us how that's going.
Yes, about 6 months ago we started a paramedic program where we have now 6 of our 9 fire stations that that have our firefighters trained as paramedics as well. And we had a great program before. We had AMR ambulance that came in and provided the paramedics, but there were only about 4 of those in our community floating around South Bay between Imperial Beach and Bonita Sunnyside area. With paramedics on our fire engines in our 9 stations and where we're strategically located, we can provide that advanced life support or that advanced care several minutes before the ambulance arrives now. So it's a great service to our community, and we've already seen the benefits of that with heart attack victims and those that are choking or having a difficulty breathing. So it's been a great success. We're still in the transition phase. We only have 6 of our 9 stations up and running now, but we have several of our firefighters going to paramedic school. So by the end of this year, we'll have all of our stations covered.
Super. You are the president of the County Fire Chiefs Association, and you talked about paramedics, paramedicine program. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, one of the new programs that is coming out of the Affordable Care Act is really relying on the community and the emergency medical systems more. And our role in that is a new program called Community Paramedicine. And we have 2 pilot programs going on in our county right now, one with San Diego City and one with the city of Carlsbad. And that's looking at alternative ways to help people who are sick or injured. Alternative ways, for example, that would be maybe taking them to an alternate care facility like a minor emergency clinic or a doctor's office as opposed to the emergency room. Or being able to treat them with advanced skills that we may be able to train our paramedics with so that we could treat them on the scene in their home and then let them stay there. They won't need to go to the hospital. So those are 2 new programs that are being delivered around the state as far as the community paramedicine. So very new, and we're excited about the opportunities that are there.
You're also big on getting rid and not, by that I mean just kind of not following these boundaries that tend to divide our cities. You're saying we're going to send the unit that's closest if there's an event, an emergency. Tell us about that and how that works.
What we did in the San Diego County Fire Chiefs Association a couple years ago is all the chiefs got together and we decided to drop our borders, if you will. So from the perspective of the legal jurisdiction where a city begins and it ends, for purposes of fire protection and emergency services, we drop those borders. So now we have mutual aid agreements between all of us that we send the closest unit regardless of the jurisdiction. It doesn't cost any money for either jurisdiction in that case. So it's each city helping the other city out and giving their citizens the quickest and best service available. So as a result, we have combined our protocols and how we respond together. It's all the same, so that on any given incident you'll see units from San Diego and Chula Vista and National City all there together working off the same page.
Now, the region where we live, there's fires once in a while. I know we had the big fires in 03, 07. How have things changed to make us safer? And what can people do to help you guys help everybody?
Well, we have a campaign in our county called Ready, Set, Go, and there's a lot of information out there about protecting their homes and creating a defensible space around homes that are in the interface or around wildland areas. But we are better prepared for those big fires. We have more helicopters in place. We have partners with other agencies like SDG&E that provide a helicopter. Our firefighters are better trained and better prepared for responding to those wildfires. What the unknown every year, obviously, is the wind. So the wind catches us off guard sometimes, and we have to be prepared for that. So that's our focus, is to understand those conditions and how they apply. We also are much better prepared in communicating to the citizens out there and letting them know through our Office of Emergency Services through San Diego County that will give them direction on where to evacuate to, how to prepare for an evacuation, and what to do with their home.
Chief, thanks for being with us. I appreciate it. I wish we had more time. It seems to fly when we're talking, having a good conversation.
Thanks for the opportunity.
You bet, sir. And when we return, we'll get into the education side of public safety with a very serious conversation about child abuse and how parents can help prevent it. Please stay with us.
Can you imagine if all young people understood how the world works and how they could make a difference? You can inspire the next generation of scientific and environmental leaders by getting involved today. I've been a proud student with Ocean Discovery Institute since I was 14 years old. Now I'm 24, a college graduate leading my community to protect our natural resources. Join us in engaging young people in science and empowering them to transform their lives. Visit our website and get involved today.
Welcome back to Cox San Diego Connection. Part of public safety is education, and it's extremely important for young people, especially with dealing with subjects such as child abuse and molestation. To help us learn more about these difficult topics is Kathy McLennan of Palomar Health. She is an expert in helping families deal with child abuse. Kathy, welcome. I feel like I'm not doing justice to what you do for us. How would you describe your job when people ask you about it?
Well, technically, I'm a forensic interviewer of children, as well as being the supervisor for the program. I work for Palomar Health at what's known as the Children's Advocacy Center nationwide. That means that when there's a concern or an outright allegation of abuse with a child, rather than have the child travel to the police department, to a child protective office, the adults who need to know what's happened to the child gather at our center, and I interview the child myself. Everybody else observes, and so everybody learns what the child has to say at the same time.
This is such a difficult topic to talk about and discuss, but why are parents, adults, are so afraid to discuss it?
Well, number one, I think, is that most adults don't understand how common child sexual abuse is, although the statistics indicate that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will experience sexual abuse in their childhood years. And that has been supported by other studies. Kaiser and San Diego respondents confirmed with a 22% male and female that they had experienced child sexual abuse. It is such a shameful, taboo issue that sometimes that extends even to, I think, education within the family about that, and how I think people are very uncomfortable talking to their children about it, because it is such a sad and yet almost so revolting to people that they don't want to even talk about it to protect their own children.
What can parents do as far as before it happens? I know sometimes you can't prevent it, but what can parents be doing in the meantime so if something does happen, they can actually talk about it?
I think the most important thing is understanding how common it is. That in fact, no matter how good a parent you are, you can't entirely protect your child. And that's recognizing that for all of us, our own children are vulnerable. So we need to make a decision early on that we are going to talk to them about it. It doesn't mean telling your children about sex or the sex act when they're very young. That has really very little to do with very often what's happening with children. You need to have body part identification. You need to, as the parent, be comfortable talking about the child's body parts, even the genitals. We struggle with that, and kids sense that that's an area that is not open for discussion within a family. So you need to talk to kids about personal safety. What parts of their body is it okay to touch, and who's allowed to do that? A doctor, for instance, or a mom or dad when they're putting on medicine, and get very specific. And it can't be a one-time educational session. Just like we repeatedly talk to our kids about crossing the street and holding hands and not darting out in traffic, over and over and over again when they're little. But because people are so uncomfortable with the topic of child sexual abuse, very often they have a single sit-down session with them and think that they're going to retain and remember and apply that. It's also really important for parents to remember that children aren't going to be able to identify the problem or the dangerous people in their life. That's really a parent's job. And so we need to follow our instincts about people. Someone has what seems like an unusual interest in your child, wants to take them places to the exception of other children or their own children. You need to really let your instincts guide you about that. If it feels wrong, then you need to ask more questions. You need to more than talk to your child, you need to listen to them. Children, most often, if they get ready to disclose about child sexual abuse, will give partial bits of information, sort of tentative attempts to see whether or not this is going to be received, if they're going to be in trouble, if people are going to blame them. So as a parent, if you sense that your child is wanting to talk to you, you need to really sit down and give them your full concentration and listen and encourage them. Tell me about that. Tell me what's happened.
When a child, and then, God forbid it happens, and they tell you, this is something a child is not going to lie about, true?
Very typically not. In fact, it is so difficult that the research on this shows us that of the adults who respond to a number of very wide-scale studies around this, 2/3 of them who said positively they were abused during their childhood sexually, 2/3 said they never told anyone during childhood. So you have a much larger chance that your child will never tell you about that experience than you do that they will lie to you about it.
We're running out of time. There's so much to cover. At what point do you go to the authorities? At what point do you call police?
If your child tells you that something has happened, you need to initially believe them, ask for as much information as they can provide to you, respond in a calm way so that the child knows that they're not being blamed and they're not in trouble for that disclosure, and move to protect them immediately. Make sure they're not around that person, and you need to report to law enforcement.
If someone wants to ask you a question, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
My direct line at the center is 760-739-2156, and I welcome phone calls if you have a question, if you want community education, if you would like someone to present at a group. Be most happy to take care of that.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks for sharing.
You're very welcome.
All right. Now, when we return, we'll talk about the compassionate side of public safety, so please stay with us.
Cox Communications and San Diego Habitat for Humanity have joined forces on Habitat's first Building for the Brave community in Lakeside. This community will serve those who have served us by providing affordable homes for disabled veterans and their families. The homes will be equipped with state-of-the-art furnishings adapted to the special needs of the veterans and will be sold to the families through a 0% mortgage. Cox Communications and all of our sponsors are proud to support Habitat for Humanity's Building for the Brave program.
Welcome back to Cox San Diego Connection. The topic is public safety. Unfortunately, from time to time, disaster hits and people are left fending for themselves. Luckily, there are agencies out there helping those in need, and no one does it better than the Red Cross. And here in San Diego and Imperial County, it means Tony Young, CEO of the Red Cross for this region. Welcome, Tony. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
The Red Cross, you do so many great things. It must be an amazing place to work for.
It really is. I mean, walking into that building, you get a chance to experience people who have done incredible work throughout the community, and it's just inspiring to be around individuals like that, and to be able to help somebody just about every day during their most vulnerable and difficult times.
And I know you guys are there all the time. Tell us what you do when you're not hearing about the Red Cross in the news. Tell us what you do on a daily basis to help make San Diego and Imperial County a better place to live.
It's interesting because I know most people don't wake up in the morning thinking about an earthquake or a fire or a house fire or something to that effect. But you know, the people of the Red Cross here in San Diego think about it every day. So we're preparing, we're getting our volunteers ready in case there's some major emergency. There might be a fire that night, there might be something that we need to respond to that's a major disaster. We might even be deployed. So we're constantly preparing and getting ready for the next event.
What does happen when a disaster that does hit, like a fire, or maybe on a wider scale like the typhoon in the Philippines? How do you guys go to work, and how are you guys working with San Diegans who might be contributing to you guys?
Well, what we want to do is obviously we want to prepare for the next event. So we're all constantly preparing, but there's 3 parts of a cycle in a disaster. It's preparing, responding, and then recovering. So we're either doing one of those things, and it's usually working with our partners, working with our volunteers, and just being more prepared for that next event.
And I know the Red Cross does a lot of great things for military families. Tell us about that.
It's an incredible relationship that we have. So you have these military members who are protecting ourselves, protecting our country, and we have a responsibility to support the families who are at home. And so we work very closely. We do this great thing called Build a Daddy Doll that we provide, and we go to the pre-deployment briefings before they go out and deploy, and work with them. We work with their families in case there's an emergency. And we're the one call center that's west of the Mississippi that takes calls from people all over the world who are affiliated with the military.
I remember learning CPR a long time ago, and it was because of the Red Cross. Tell us about that type of training and others that you might offer to people.
Well, of course, we want to that's one of our mainstays is really preparing folks in case there's a cardiac arrest. So we give classes throughout the entire region, but we also give swimming lessons, babysitting classes, infant CPR, and so we also even distribute defibrillators throughout the region and in schools and other sites. So we have a whole group of individuals who help prepare for that type of event in a person's life.
Well, Cox Communications partners with the Red Cross for a program, Prepare San Diego. Tell us about the initiative and how this came about.
Well, first of all, we want to say thank you to Cox Communications. They have done a great job supporting us. But what we're doing is we are preparing, and we have a goal to prepare, along with Cox, 1 million people for the next disaster. That means to get a kit, make a plan, or get trained. And as we move forward in this initiative, it's going to be companies like Cox that's going to help us become a more prepared San Diego.
I know there's a lot of people who want to help and maybe can't write a check to you guys, but volunteering is one way they can help, and you will train them and help them out?
Right. I mean, you know, this is a volunteer-led organization. You walk around our building, you don't know who works for the Red Cross or who's volunteering because they are taking the lead. So it is an important part. So we would encourage anybody. If you can't write a check, of course, money is really important to do our mission, but you can actually volunteer in many of the things that we do. Work with our military, work when it comes to sheltering, feeding in case of disaster. All these things are very important during a Red Cross mission.
And quickly, you also help people do fundraisers, right? You will teach them how to do that?
Oh, of course. You know, it's a fundraiser for us to do our mission. So we have lots of ways that we do it. We have young people who have done fundraisers. We work with, for example, the Philippine disaster that we just had. We work with the communities to do that type of fundraising, all focused on the mission of the Red Cross, which is to help people in their most desperate times.
Thanks again, Tony. Appreciate it.
Sure.
I'm Salvador Rivera, and on behalf of our guests and the employees of Cox Communications, we want to thank you for watching Cox San Diego Connection, helping you learn and prosper.